Mhm. Oh, okay. Curious. Curious. Okay, so, so, hello class. Yes. So, class today, class? Yesterday, yes. Class? Yes. Class today, class? All right, so I'm going to take a roll call with you just to make sure it's there. And I'm going to update those, the grade book with those attendance today at the end of the day. So everybody knows where they are in terms of attendance. Yeah. Olivia. Alex, I think that's good. And Alondra, Andrew. So was there any story or anything you want to tell the class? This heart was broken into us. So was it your examples? No, chapter. Were you on campus or something? No. Isabel. Uh, all right, so we're going to get started right away, and I'm asking all of you to please engage with the class. So we have two parts to what we're going to discuss today. Last week we started with looking at spelling awareness. We talked about what they were, we worked in groups, it looks like different aspects of phonological awareness, not just phonemic awareness, because phonemic awareness, as you know, is required. So today I want to look at some activities. And here for activities that we do for phonological awareness as a whole, just phonemic awareness. And in doing that, I'm going to put you into groups, and then we're going to we'll look at the activities first, and then I'm going to put you into groups to look for activities that are similar to the examples that you're going to see. And then when we get to the next segment, that's when we're going to move to the activity or the session for today. Okay. So part of that is also some of the nursery rhymes that you see. But to get started, It's so small. So, do you remember from last week? What do you remember? Sometimes I remember. That's why I remember. Yeah. Então, sobre o grupo, eu lembro da nursing environment, so maybe children in the community. Okay. Okay, good. So, do you remember what this umbrella is? What is this umbrella? The umbrella framework. Chronological awareness. So, how did we define that last week? Anybody want to take this back? Okay, so if the awareness of sounds actually, remember sound? If you say, when you say funnel, right there, it refers to sound. So that is what phonological awareness is. So an awareness of sound. So anywhere you see O, F, PHO, or no, for example, we are talking about immediately it should ring something in your ears, and that has to do with sound. You may not know what the rest of the word may be, but let's trigger in your mind that this is talking about sound. It has to do with something about sound. So phonological awareness also has to do with an awareness of sound. How is the phonological awareness different from this one here? How is it different from phonemic awareness? I'm going to give you some time to think. Like something. Let's give the friends of the verses. How is it different? Okay. Okay. How is it? That's a really good start at this question. Thank you for doing that. How do you think that's more complex part? How is it different from the phonological? Anybody else? Actually, just talk about it. Yes. Which one? The phonemic awareness? This is more details? Or which one is more details? Okay, thank you. I like that word. It's a broad concept. But broad concept about what? Thank you, Eva. I want other people to give this a try. Broad concept about sounds. Yes, exactly. So remember we're talking about sounds here. So I mean children understand that when we talk there's some kind of sound that they hear. If the children do not have deafness, definitely that's one of the things that they're going to know first. If it's a sound of either their mother's voice or their parents or their mother's voice or the voices of all the people in the house that live in their house. But typically they'll hear their mother's voice first. And so that is the awareness of sound. If you were to take a baby for early checkup, it's one of the things that pediatricians will check for is the awareness of sound. Do you know how to test for this in moms in the class? So can share with us? They do an exam right after they're born. What do they typically do? Well, like they take the baby up, so you don't see it in the moment. With it. They set the countries, they kind of headphones, and then they make sounds, and the tenant they actually they move, like when they listen, that makes it like when the baby gets to about 6 weeks old, did you take your baby in for a checkup? Yeah. Okay. Were you there when they did the yeah. What did they do? What did they do? Well, they usually split this night. They put him. Yeah. But how do they know that the child can yes? Oh, they put it there. Okay. So they'll do something to call the child's attention. Right? And then they turn when they turn. Exactly. So when the child turns his head, then they know, oh, this child can hear. But if the child is not turning the head, they're just looking at you like that, then they do begin to do more tests. Yeah. So, but it's a very easy test that anybody can actually do. But it's just a very, very easy test. It's, you can clang on something, not very loud to frighten the baby, but something exactly that would be very gentle and soft that will make the baby turn their head. So that is an awareness of, okay, yeah, when the baby hears that, they know that this child can hear. And they have an awareness of silence. When the baby is listening to you and looking at you like that, they are listening to you. They may not understand what you're saying, but they're beginning to get your tone, your voice, the undulation of language. Many people think that these children are so little, they don't understand what's going on. They say things, but the child is understanding how language works just by listening to you talk. The stress of the language, some of your languages are tonal languages. So they're catching all of that as they're growing up. So when they begin to get older, they begin to have an awareness of these things. So when we talked about phonological awareness, just this broad awareness of words, of sentences, and of different things that's happening in language. And if you remember when Bethany came here, when she would usually share, she would talk about how if you turn a book in a certain way, the kids will know that no, that's not the way that you're supposed to turn it. So they're beginning to catch a lot of things. So never ever mistaking phonemic awareness to be phonological awareness, because they may be similar, but they're very different. At some point in your education career, before you get a license, you're going to have a content test. Now we know that the state has moved the content test before licensure. Before this semester, you had to pass the content test before you did student teaching. But the state has just changed that now. You must pass your content test before you are given a license to go and teach in the school. And these are the kinds of things that are on that test. They will ask you pose some questions to you that will help them to know, do you know the difference between these two things? Do you know the difference between phonemic awareness and phonological awareness, or do you think that they're exactly the same thing? So that is why it is very critical for you to know what the differences are between the two. And as I mentioned, it's part of that chapter that we looked at last week. And I don't know how many people actually read it, but these are the kinds of things that you see there. And the umbrella term is for sound. It's something that has to do with the awareness of sound. And so, however, those sounds may occur. They may occur in words, they may occur in sentences, they may occur in rhyming, in alliteration, and all of that. But it's just that general awareness of sounds. But then when you get to this part, This is the part that really begins to help kids to read because, like Fatma rightly said, that's a more complex part of language. And especially, that's what really supports children's reading. They have to be able to do these in order to be able to actually begin to put words together for themselves and be able to put individual sounds together to make words and those words to make sentences. This is what helps them eventually to be able to read. They may be aware of sounds in rhyming or alliteration, words and sentences, syllables, but in order for them to be able to make that leap into making up their own words and reading their own words, they need to know these. They have to be able to isolate sounds, blend sounds, segment sounds, substitute sounds, delete and match sounds. So don't say I never told you, because I did the content test myself and I know what's on. But this is what is there are many parts of that particular test that actually shows them whether or not you have a grip and understanding of both phonological and phonemic awareness. They won't say what's the difference, like I'm asking you, but they'll say what part of this sentence is this, is this a phonemic awareness activity or a phonological? So you need to know what these are. You need to know that you know that you know. Very, very critical. So I just wanted to focus on that. So what I want to do today is to look at some of the kinds of activities that we might do for each of these parts of phonological awareness. And then we're going to get together and look for activities that are similar to what I have on the board. So for example, in order to have word awareness, one activity that you might do with children is bring blocks to class. And in your classroom with the materials that the school will buy for you, you are going to have all those blocks. You bring maybe Lego blocks or some other types of blocks, you bring them to class, or you can have counters. And each word will represent a sentence. So for example, I have a red ball. That would be 4 blocks that you can put in front of the children. And you can write the sentence on the board, or use a whiteboard, or whatever the kind of words you have in your classroom. And you can have the little ones tell you how many words there are in the sentence that you have formulated. So some of you are going to be working on something like that. I have to go and find blocks. And then another thing that you could do is listening games. So some of you are going to be looking for listening games. So for example, I spy with my little eye something that starts with, for example. Or I spy with my little eye somebody whose name starts with J, for example. So who might that be in the class? How many people name starts with J? Jackie? Who else? Who else has a name that starts with J? So that's a game that you can play. If parents play this game all the time in the car and they're driving somewhere, they can play all that game. You can use this game to identify colors, for example. But in terms of literacy, you want to identify letters. These are the kind of things that you can start with letters. You can start with use them for sounds, especially. Okay. And some of you are going to be looking or creating maybe activities around this today. Another example is nursery rhymes and songs. And we did some nursery rhyming last week, but many of the things that many teachers now, unlike before, and I have a nursery book that I borrowed from a daughter who has children. So you have nursery rhymes and songs. So for example, if you want to go to the YouTube, that particular YouTube video that I put in, it has so many nursery rhyme songs on here. And one of the things that I want to do this activity now, and all I want you to do is for some of the songs that I will play, I want you to identify where the rhyming words are. Because again, we're looking at rhymes here. So what are the rhyming words in some of these songs? So I don't want to waste time. I don't know what happened now. Oh, it's okay, so what I'd like you to do, when I play the first song, I want you to identify the rhyming words that you can find. What you define the rhyming words, Constance? Yeah. Sorry? Okay, same ending. Exactly. Okay, so identify which of these, as you're listening to the song, what are the rhyming words that you can identify from the song? Shine bright over rain, and it's the empty tiger climbed up the cloud again. It's out. Tiger went up the water spout, down came the rain, and washed the tiger out. Out came the sun, shining bright over rain. And it's the empty tiger climbed up the cloud again. It's the spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sunshine and dried up all the rain. And it's the spider climbed up the cloud again. Okay. What are they? Maybe this is not the version you have to with, but it's especially that third line, right? Is that correct? Yeah. So, yeah, so it's some of the versions are different. So, but what are some of the rhyming words that you have? Sorry? Rain and again, yes, so that's one of them. But what else? Spider, water. We're looking at the ending words. Okay. The spider ends in ER, water too. But is it the end of the line? That's the question. If it was the end of the line, then that will work. Yeah. But what else? But and oh, exactly. Okay, that's good. So those are the kinds of things that you can ask your student. You know, what are the rhyming words that you get here, and you know you can help the students also if you have it on your whiteboard where you have the words actually written. It's very helpful for your students to be able to see the words as well. Okay. So let's see another one. It's system I engineer and think was his name, but brother and brother and think was his name. Engineer and think was his name. Brother and brother and think was his name. Chia, 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 and think was his name. There was a storm, and God bingo of his name. Was his name. There was a storm, and God bingo of his name. Was his name. So, right here. Bingo and bingo. And oh, that's it. What do you think this activity will be doing? For what? Well, okay. What for what? Sound. Sound. Which part? Which of the sound? Um, let me put up that umbrella again. So tell me what's from here. Which part of this sound? What do you think happened there? What? Okay. Keep trying. Go down the line. What did you see happen as they were removing the sound? Deletion. So they were deleting different sounds. And so deletion was happening. And that would have been a really good activity for participants. For phonic deletion, while you're deleting. So let's move on to rhyming games. So you can play other games like you can use nurseries for rhyming games, but you can also play games where children would identify words that rhyme. For example, what rhymes with cat? And kids can give you words that rhyme with cats. Because again, we're looking at the ending sounds, right? And they can give you some of these, but then you need to make up some other ones. For example, dog. What rhymes with dog, for example? We have things like frog and log and jog. As an example. But there's also the UG sound, which also is an ug sound, right? So what rhymes with jug? G-U-G. J-U-G. Sorry? Bug? Yes, exactly. Good, thank you. What else? Rug? What? Tug? Somebody said, okay, Alex said tug. What else? Slug? What about log? So when you know what it means to log something? Not L-O-J, not L-O-G, but L-U-G. What does it mean to log something? Okay, you're carrying something, and usually it's something very heavy. So that's another way to develop vocabulary because you're helping kids to know. Okay, I'm not talking about L-O-G, but you can log a log. You can log a log because a log is very heavy, but you can log it. But if you had many bags of groceries to take into your home from your car, from your car, you're loading all the grocery bags into your house because they're heavy. You have all this, so you're loading them. So it's LUG. So that's another way to help kids to identify the results. You have these two words that sound the same, but their spellings are different and they mean different. Okay. And so these are sentences, so these are words that also rhyme. Like alliteration activities, you can create sentences where most words will start with the same sound, like silly Sally's 50 sold 7 scarves. Okay. So those are 7 different words. But all of them start with what? With what? S. With what? It's not with S, but with, we're thinking about the sound here. Okay, and then another example, funding our troubles take chunks. So you can make up your own alliteration words. Now, syllable counting, many of us are very familiar with this, and maybe some of you have already used it in your classrooms if you're teaching with your students. So you clap hands, you tap fingers to count the syllables in words. For example, how many syllables are in elephant? Can we clap our hands? Elephant. Okay. Can we say it out loud? How many syllables? 3. You sure? Let's try again. How many syllables? I'm just trying to confuse you. I'm trying to confuse you. You should be able to tell that. I thought everybody is talking like that. You careful when you trying to confuse you like that. Okay, that's good. How about butterfly? Let's try again. You can ask kids to jump. So here we clap, but you can ask them to jump to the butterfly. So let's try and see. I'm asking you to jump, but let's clap the butterfly. How many? How many syllables? 3. Yes. So you can look for 2 syllables. You can look for 3 syllables. You can look for 4 syllables. So things like that. Okay. Then you can do sound matching or sound sorting. And you can see that these ones with sound matching and sound sorting, these are definitively community awareness activities. So you ask children to find objects that will start with the same sound. So for example, find something that starts with the but sound as an example. So in this kind of case, you can bring just some objects into your classroom with different sounds. You want to also vary some of the sounds. So for example, you can bring in maybe 2 things that start with like a picture of a cat, as an example. or you can bring, and then you can bring in another picture that starts with the a picture of the animal. But your goal is to look for the back sound. So you will bring in maybe 6 things that have the back sound and 2 things that have the sound, and you get them to find to sort this out. But you're asking them to find the objects that start with the, and then they can, after they've done that, you can ask them to set aside and sort the objects that. So you're making a difference between the one and so you can look for activities also like that. Also items like, again, you cannot bring a real monkey to class, but you can bring in a picture of a monkey. Then blending sound. So the blending sound, these will be individual sounds that form words. So you're blending them so you can say the sound. And then you get the stage of completing, you know, that. And then also and it will tell you what that is. In early childhood classrooms, we also like to use what we call acronym boxes. Those acronym boxes look like just a box that will be maybe 3, where you divide the box into 3 ones like that, and you can get the children to tell you where each sound will go into. So we have, for example, we have sun, and you can ask them, where would I put this sound? So where would it go? It goes here, and this one goes here. And then you draw a line there like that. So we have to say the word. So that's, we call them acronym boxes. So it's to help the children identify and organize the sounds, what goes where. For example, you also know that there are some words that have 2 letters or 2 sounds in one box. An example of that would be what? 2 letters that you sort of say together, but they fit in one box. Can you give me an example? So what would you say? Let's try that. So let's say each sharp. Are you all familiar with this one? Do you know what it means? Alicia, you want to tell us? When you shun somebody, what? Yeah, you know them or you have snubbed them. You know how to snub, right? You know what it means to snub somebody? Okay, so when you shun somebody, that's what it means as well. So, but how many sounds do you think I hear? Sounds. Go on, I hear you. How many sounds are here? How many? 4 or 3? 3. Okay. What are the 3? Okay. 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 So where would I put this one here? Okay, good. And then, okay, that's an excellent example. Also, in one like plant, an example will be another one where you have the first 2 letters that sound. How does this one sound? So that first one, the here, and then you add. So you have to look for these examples of these types of variations when you are looking at sounds. So it can be very clear. Yeah. 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 Right. So let's move on. And then segmenting words. So segmenting words, this is when you break words into individual sounds. So for example, what sound do you hear in dog as an example? So how many sounds do you hear in dog? Are you telling me what sounds you hear in dog? Anybody? Okay, but can somebody help me identify the sounds? Uh-huh. And only have the program. Okay. Okay. So one of the things that I have found and that I know that always tricks people is the difference between the sound and the letters. So when you see the sound, we identify sounds with these two, these two that look like back, what do you call it? Backslashes. This one that look like slashes, yeah. Those represent sound. But anytime we go and write a sound, we put them into backslashes. If you haven't done that in your test class, that's something that it represents sound, especially when you write it. You let people know that this is a sound by putting them into backslashes. Into that. Okay. So the dog. And then pony manipulation. So the deletion that we had, that song, the bingo song that we just saw, that was the singer in that song was actually manipulating sound by deletion. So just continue to delete one sound at a time until no sound was being sung at all. So, but there are some other things you can do there with the name manipulation and stuff. Actually, make a new code. Where you get by adding, by removing one sound. So they are deleted in sound and for example, the people song. That one was total deletion, but what you can add, let's say you decide to add instead of the bingo, let's say you decide to add, what would that do? You change bingo to what? What, everything else remains the same, but you change bingo, but you're just manipulating and changing the process. So what would that sign? What would that word be? What? Yeah. Kingo, so Kingo. So there was a farmer that was, that has a different Kingo was his name. And so you can change that. And that's how children can see how you can move as sounds of words. So they can change it. In that, they can delete the and add it, and it can become that. Okay. So what I want to do now is to put you into groups, and I'm going to show you what your group is going to work. So I want you in pairs. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So Berna, you are 1, and Alondra, 2. 1, and Isabel, 2. 1. two of you are going to be in pairs, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, you are visible. And you have 1 and you have 2. So you're going to work with this here. Everybody you can work with Claudia. So 1 and 2. And then June, you can work with Olivia, 1 and 2. And she's working with her. So you can work with Alex. So 1 and 2. Malia and Mandy and those that you can all work together. Okay. So you can work together. So I'm going to show you now what you are going to do. So you are going to need your laptop. If you have a laptop, you can use your phone. But what I'm going to do is to look for activities. More activities that look like the ones I have shown you. So, Corona, your group is going to look at action. So you can do the word awareness. Okay? Listening games. So far, if you and your partner want to have listening games. So I want you to look for 3 types of activities that look like this in an action. Okay, for all of your groups, I want you to look for 3 activities that would look like the one I am showing. So Corona, go ahead and the first one. I'm looking at this one. So Jackie, you want to page I'm looking at different of your lines. Eva and Claudia, I want you to look at writing things. When you are encouraging the student to identify things. And June and Olivia, I would like you to look at alliteration. So I want you to create an alliteration that looks in boxes. Just 3. That's all. Every group is going to do 3. So Alex, you and Gladys, we're going to look at syllables. So look for different types of syllables, not just 3 syllable words, you can look for 4 syllable words, you can look for 2 syllable words. Create activities around that. You can ask kids to jump at it, you can ask them to tap, you can, or do something. So 3 activities. And then some matching and sorting. Dulce, you and Leah and Mandy. I want you to show the picture of sun sorting and matching. Oh, really? It's quite a name in the country. Oh, so the partners. Like flashcard? Yeah, basically. Okay, jumping and rapping. So it'll be like words. Yes, so the next is. That was really just gonna say like a magic game, like magic. Like those groupings worksheet where you cut it out of the. Never please stay on. When it's written there. I found one that I really liked.
Like it's a sound matching. That's the sound. That's the sound, like guess basically guess the instrument. Oh, like matching
The sound.
yeah. Not the sound.
You hear the sound and then try to match it.
So much better. Is it? Yeah. Obviously, but then it's like, yeah, but it's like, you need to feel like the fact that they know it's that. Like, if you show the picture of the money, they're like, like, yep.
So are you finding anything? Yeah. Okay, you are.
Do we, like, it's more on the letter, not like.
No, you're looking at the sound.
This. So, if someone played like, and the children were like, that's not. We're looking at this, the sound of the letter N.
What is your activity?
The sound matching and sound.
Or are you doing something? Yeah, got. So, yes, so you're looking at the sound. What is the, they're looking at, you're asking them to sort objects based on the beginning of the sounds, right? So think about objects that you might bring to class that would be similar. It doesn't have to be the exact same words. It could be different words. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Are you sure you understand the question?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's not like we don't have. It's not like we're trying to like give. Yeah, there's gifters.
Yeah.
Like she said, if you brought like a stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, like, not like.
Yeah,
Playing the
looking
monkey
at-
sounds and then guess that it's a monkey.
Yeah, no. They're not guessing
Guessing the
that.
animal.
No, they're not guessing the animal. It's the sound of the word. Yeah, the beginning sound of the word.
That makes sense. So if we brought like a snake, we'd be like, "What is it?" So start with. I mean, that could be. Yeah. The X-ray is from somewhere. This one is like, you can roll, this is like down spin, it's like, it says, a spinner with lowercase letters on it in buckets with a matching letter name, spin the wheel and say the sound of the letter. Spinner? Yeah, it's fun. That'd be cool, that'd be cool. I just didn't know that. Games, but it sounds like it's like it's like they go outside. Look at say the sound. I heard rat. Thank you. So that's it's a second.
No, we're taking it. You need to like break these down.
So you and your group are going to come out.
It's one. Okay, so we can do this later. I'll just write. And then we can do the one where like the one where you bring in things and then we can.
With the
I think that's for the.
Exactly.
Putting down in
That's what it's. Of course. It's not good yet. I guess it's on Friday.
Oh. No.
Or something. You didn't do it.
No,
I did it. I did it. I did it. I my opinion on the question. I got 10 out of 15. So I got 67. Okay, I'm gonna retake it.
Bring your own object.
I just put. You just will cut and sort pictures according to the study. I didn't read that. I'll send it to you. Because I took the picture, I was like, oh, I know who says there, so.
But you have my phone number, right?
Let me see. I'll check. 773-681-4150. Okay. I'll send it to you. I was like, oh God, it's really. Like, I mean, one of the questions has 10 minutes. So. And he didn't tell me in both list which one was wrong. I got 4 out of 5 in that, but I don't know which 2 are the ones wrong. So like you can see the notes and everything, but like I couldn't find the stuff in the.
I know.
So I was like, okay, so hopefully she didn't do it, so I can, and hopefully, I guess we have the same.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
The second one, for the second one? Yeah, it's on. I think she made them all the lines together, so. So they just.
Yeah, it was impressive. What was doing? But then I mean, like you don't have to rush, but you can take
That's
your
true.
notes and get it on. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, but we have like emotion versus, which is like and that's all. It was really like here. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everything is very clear. And then. Yeah, we found it. So have you found three? So one more look at the Robin's been started. But. No, that's. But I have to keep it not really. Y luego ya completar políticamente. Oh, yes. Eso es lo que está viendo. And then just like the night or everything. I didn't know. That's why you need to. If you're teaching this, like, figure out what types of everything. In spring and those are. That's.
Just as
You study in spring?
what do you mean?
You don't get to see.
No, actually.
That's your.
So I did the,
You know.
get a free class. So slow. In general. That way. And then like. Advanced. For Spanish. That definitely gave me extra. Yeah.
When people like you guys like in Spanish is really. Okay, so I think everybody is ready now. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a partner. And we're going to tell the class what the activities we have. We need to be able to explain it so that we can understand. I need to stand at the computer so that I can put what is next up on the screen so everybody can see what's next. Okay? And you can ask for suggestions from the class, and if you see anything that's maybe incorrect, you should very gently point it out, because there's no point saying everything is okay if it's not, because then we will all go away with that information. So it's really important to kind of, okay, so that you want to have something to have the correct information. So, because again, this is a very critical part. I remember one time when report was presenting and the information that presented correct. At least one person in the group. So, and somebody in the class pointed it out. I know that the person doesn't like it, but what's the point? Everybody going away with information doesn't help. So it's important for us to be accountable. I know people don't like it, but we are learning. So well, keep that in mind. All right. So thank you so much. And so we're going to get started, and we're going to get started with word awareness. So I think that's Corona and Alondra. I will have that. So I'm going to come and present for us the 3 sentences on word awareness.
First, you did the sorting activity, which is basically a label picture card, and then have 2 related to each other, and then 1 being odd and out with 2 ends. And then being identified.
And then the next one is kind of move like a I hear game, so you basically say like a really simple sentence like, I have a dog, and then you tell them how many words did you hear? And the kids repeat, I hear 5 words, whatever. And that's
Then you have the jumping for word where same sentence, and this would be the activity. And then having them jump. Like how many words.
So does anybody have more ideas for them? About things that you can do for word awareness? So listening games.
You have the assignments that we point at something that's like, for example, we point something and say, what that's something like, as the child. What are-
so the teacher will person, they put up and we will see the sound of you, and people person.
What's sound? There's only one with the back person. Activity. Yes, the very first. Simon said. We're open. Yeah. That's a very nice. Simon says, yeah. Thank you. So I hope they're all writing those down because the activities that you can do with the students. There are also activities that when you get your little, those are kind of activities.
And so, so what will we do next? Running games.
Well, we said bingo. So our thought was have the things that we can go. Think like just like a really big block bingo in front. And for example, like just a little example would be like the the block would have like mouse, goat, ants. But then I would pass out little like put out sheets for the kids that would have like writing words that would have put stuff on the board. For example, like what's on the board would be like mouse, goat, ant. Or some of the kids might find like house, goat, ants. So then they'll come up and for a second one, we have a writing scavenger hunt using anchor charts. So we'll have like, for example, we'll have like 4 anchor charts around the room. And we'll have like dog, sad, jet, kid, like in a bubble. But around that big bubble, we'll have other words surrounding it as well. For example, like for sad, we'll have mad, bad, 10. Like the kids will go around and then they'll just color in like a word that I, and then they'll each kind of turn for the round. And for the third, and picture of anything, when children will look at the calendar. So for example, the word color will be mouse, and they will match it with another picture card. Another dog. This is the silver dog, and then match it with the picture of that. Thank you.
As they are presenting, I'm visualizing in my head is like fun to see if we properly for very okay. Okay, so can you and how we go? We have a liberation. So the first one, students would get like a worksheet that's split into boxes. And so each maybe pictures. So the first 3, so it starts with an L, so the lobster, a lot, and then the next row, 4 ones, and then there would be 3 words cut out or pictures cut out, and they'd all be mixed up, and the students would have to like visualize and say what the picture is, and they would have to match that with the starting the correct stuff. But leave like repeat and And then the third one that we have is the students, they'd be given like a worksheet and.
What? Yeah. We need to do the second one, then.
Yeah. So it could be like one worksheet, but they be given a word. Then they have to words with, okay, this letter. It would just be fixed. That's really good. So do you have any more examples of him that you can use for illustration? Can somebody, can you then give us some alliteration words? That you may have done at school? Poems? Okay, yeah. Can you give us an example, Alex? The sentence that has alliteration?
Sarah
something Cersei shows.
I was so
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
yes, exactly. She sells feet. Yes. Thank you.
I'm not sure if many people. Does everybody know what I'm saying?
And so we use visuals. So we pick up like pictures of items. So let's say and we don't have to so, very good fur and here and up here.
Was to work with this. So they just they can start and
And then from reading matters, they tries to feel quite young. So for here they use their hands. So if you work from this inside the classroom, no, it's very noisy. So usually we'll look at it as this, see if that's where napkin. So she said to stretch out the words by whispering something like cat. Yeah. So that way they can hear themselves, not like everyone.
Like I barely remember that I had seen it. Yeah, that's why that is where you find out where the CDs are. Like, thank you.
So the first one was like a spinner, like, and then you label it with like, it said like, lowercase, just the letters. And everything. And then we land on stage down.
So it's not, and when they found them, something they feel like the letter. What it is, the sound of the letter that's on. That's the.
What I found was we made it a map, then they added the letters. Just like picking this map, and then they face down some pictures. So it's the picture and this is with the letter. Yeah. And then, yeah. It's like 240. Yes, like
So the letter, they'll have the letter names facing down.
no, they have the pictures, the part facing down. Okay.
And they don't
Picture,
flip it.
and they place it in the letters section.
Okay, but we're looking for sounds.
Yeah,
Not
oh,
letters.
no, yeah, like wow, so we're gonna bring some objects with different, bring objects into the classroom, and then we're gonna show it to them, and then we'll try to see the sound of each.
I just found that they say, because say for example, you bring in pianos to class.
Mostly the vowels and the
Vowels? And you said the vowels of the beginning. So with very young children, you start with the beginning. So at a point, you get to the middle sound, you going to usually be the vowels now. Or sometimes at the very end of the sounds. But you have to identify which sound you say. So when you go to do your activity, you want to say, is it the initial sound? Is it the ending sound that they're talking about? The medial sound, which are the middle sounds, usually the vowel, they're usually the last sound that we have. Really, really good children. Preschool, kindergarten, we start with that beginning sound. Then by the end of kindergarten, like by before June, we go to the ending sounds. We go to the ending sounds and then we will also be identifying those medial sounds. I think when we were talking last week, I was going to Olivia that those media sounds are usually the hardest and the ones that so but then you put the beginning sound, the ending sound. So when you say sound, make sure that you identify which. All right. So our first one would be in the bag. The pretty much will be in the bag. You would have a word so that every time you put the word, you have to try to read it out loud. So you have to try to blend it. So you show the word, ask the children to sound it out. For example, I can ball, so I'll have a ball in the bag. And pretty much what you're going to do is they'll sound it out, read it, and then try to match it after that. And then the second one goes, how does that, how is that, how does, what do I have to do? This, I feel like we got this a little bit, we were just trying to figure this one out, but I guess I can say like, if you do, then at the cat, okay, like sounding it out, and then having them blend out the word, okay, because these balls. Yeah, ball is good too. How many sounds are involved? How many sounds, class? Three. Okay, what are the sounds? There are how many letters? Four letters, but how many sounds? Three. Okay, and what are the sounds? Okay, so the O there has two L's. Okay, good. That's good. That's good, Jackie. Yeah, so even though it's ball, that's still identifying the sounds. And then you have this part, so picture of like a fruit, and then you would have different beginning sounds, beginning sounds. So PL R. Next activity we have is the hidden word activity. And basically, the teacher would take a white piece of paper and a white crayon, and they would write a word like that on the paper. And the student would take a water, and as the student would take the letter, this letter makes the up sound. This letter makes the up sound. This letter makes the T sound. Together, this makes but act. Are you going to use it? Is that because it's about what? I didn't know the coloring that. But yeah, there's more there and they're uncovering it. So I don't know what they do. All right, thank you very much. And when you get to your university portfolio, the students that you are going to assess have to find activities that will work for that. So this is going to be the, it depends on where the students or where that particular child needs support. Because you have to focus on the, because there are students who have strengths in one area, and then there are students who might be weak in some areas. So you have to find out. So when you go to develop your literacy activities, this is the kind of thing. What activity would be the best activity for me to use this? and all your activities. will be there. So, but you know how to search your activity and what you need to do with it. Okay, so that's really good. So we get acknowledge you all for it's so that how you searching. But these particular are supposed to be focusing mostly on phonemic awareness and phonological. So if you are working with a child that has not developed the phonemic awareness yet, these are the types of activity that you want to put in the portfolio for that particular child. When we get to vocabulary, we'll do something similar. We look for vocabulary activities. So that when you go to create your literacy portfolio, if your student has need for to develop more literacy, more vocabulary words, then you have to look for activities that is focusing on vocabulary. This is what I'm saying. So anywhere where the child needs more support, that's the kinds of activities that. Thank you. Okay, so let's take a quick 5, and then when we come back, we'll go to the next chapter, which has to do with the science of reading. So let's take a quick 5-minute break. What a brief bathroom break or whatever. Then we'll come right back and then we'll go to the Yes. Yes. But she said, yes, yes. Okay, I was just gonna say,
Just go to a. So those three ones, they give me room, permission,
yes, here, I'll show you. Yeah. Yes, they were super amazing. That like first thing to exam. But I accept that. Yeah. Like, by the way, so- They go and look at you. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Amy. Okay, so this part of our seminar, our class is really this. However, it is pretty important. And it is important because of changes that have happened over a number of years. A lot has changed in university. Before we just used to do a familiar with the schooling systems and just kind of things that some of your teachers would do when you are growing up and all of that. And all of that is all well and good. But what happened over the course of the years is that many of the literacy gurus who are out there, they downplayed performance methods, the use of funds. And it turned out that kids don't learn that way. They don't learn with just code language all by itself. My children learn with code language. They're now adults. And I remember very specifically that they struggle with it spelling because nobody focused on spelling at the time. When a generation earlier before theirs, we ran the and we were able to catch them with really very quick. So the book was developed around code language, around and books, children enjoying books, which my children did, but we had to really work hard at home to add spelling because we found that they just couldn't spell because the school just really took out the spelling. They enjoyed reading, their teachers read to them. Um, one of their teachers, for example, they lived out in the country. The husband would drive the wife to school every morning, and he would read to them something from this big book, which I now understand to be the Hobbit. And the always stop at the place and they do not want to just get to school the next day because they have a big belly gun who came in every morning to read this book to them. They just really enjoyed it. And they, there was a lot of literature in this school, the whole, in their classrooms, but it was all whole language. So that was a time that whole language was the thing that was what people believed to be the way that children would. And the whole language we downplay the fun part. We told teachers to teach phonics only in the class. So there was no phonics. So now, talking back about what, so 20 some years now, right? And now, we are now in this new phase where they have said that this has been there all along. This sense of being has been there all along. But because of what people are promoting, people don't place money, and it turned out that many kids do not read because of this phonics thing that they done it, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And there are kids who grew up who just didn't know how to read at all because nobody showed them how to put these words together, these sentences, or this sound together to make words and then to make sentences. So now we have come back again full support. And they're now saying, no, we cannot be done with this. Very important part of it to go back to that. And that's where the science of because it turns out that it has their own along, but was done because I think it was short. I know that word. It was not short. But now we know that science is very critical and very in students learning to read. And actually, there's some kind of mapping that happens at grades one after the.
So what I want to show you now are just a couple of on the science of reading. And there's a lot of reading that goes around that. It's also in your textbook. But before we get to the science part, I wanted us to deal with the science reading first before we go to the funny science. And talk about this science of reading. What is it? How does it help us to understand how children read better? How can we use it to benefit our students and also to benefit our to benefit students also? Because I see some kids who get to third grade and they're still struggling with how to read because they like a full language and balanced literacy, and we don't know how to put the sounds together. So we now know that sound and the awareness of sound, of the meaning awareness, is so critical for students learning to read. And they need to know the sound, and they need to put the sounds together to form words, to blend, and after blending, to make sure that all the words can make what they want. So I want to show you those details now. And then we'll go from there. Let's get started. So what is the science of reading?
It's Holly Lane, and I'm the director of the. Hello, my name is Holly Lane, and I'm the director of the University of Florida Literacy Institute. And the purpose of this presentation is to answer the question, what is the science of reading? One way that we can conceptualize reading is using the simple view of reading. This was first proposed by Goffin and Hudmer in the 80s. And the idea here is that reading comprehension is the product of decoding and linguistic comprehension. What that means is it can be depicted as a mathematical formula where D times LC equals RC, D being decoding, LC being linguistic comprehension, and RC being reading comprehension. The reason it's depicted as a mathematical formula is that if either decoding or linguistic comprehension is weak, the effect is multiplied. That is, you can never have better reading comprehension than the level of development of your decoding or linguistic comprehension. Another way to illustrate the same basic idea is what Hollis Scarborough did. She created a metaphor where the various components within language comprehension and word recognition are thought of as strands that are woven together to create a rope, the rope being skilled reading. So as the language comprehension strands become more tightly woven, all of that becomes increasingly strategic. Similarly, when the word recognition strands become more tightly woven together or more fully developed, that means those skills are becoming increasingly automatic. When all of these skills are fully developed, then that's when skilled reading or fluent execution and coordination of the various strands occurs. So when we're considering the question, what is the science of reading, we're thinking of how we know what we know about what goes into high quality reading instruction. Unfortunately, in our preparation as teachers, most, if not all of our knowledge probably came from education research. Education research focuses on pedagogy, including instructional methods and materials. We also, in education, study things like what do teachers need to know and what student outcomes can we expect. So this includes things like the National Reading Kennel Report that summarized for us the research in 5 key areas of reading. It includes things like multi-tiered systems of support, intervention methods, ways that we can monitor student progress, and then some of the important summaries of research like the IES practice guides. However, education research is only one piece of the puzzle. To get a more complete picture, we have to also look to other fields. Research in psychology should also inform our reading instruction. This psychology can include developmental psychology and cognitive psychology. This refers to the study of thinking and learning. This includes the study of mental processes such as memory, attention, perception, and problem solving. And this is where we get information about things like the development of knowledge networks, how things are stored in memory, the kinds of practice that promote learning, such as blocked practice versus interleaved practice, and also how we organize and retrieve information. All of this helps us understand how people learn. Understanding how people learn helps us understand more about how to teach. But again, there's more. Linguistics is the study of language and its structure. This includes the study of various language structures, including semantics, syntax, morphology, phonology, phonetics, and so on. All of these are important in reading, and having an understanding of the findings from linguistics research helps us understand what we need to teach and how we need to sequence that instruction. In other words, what prerequisite knowledge and skills are necessary for new knowledge and skills to build on. This can include things like how articulatory gestures can promote phonemic awareness, how instruction in syntax can contribute to reading comprehension, how about oral language development or decoding or morphology development, how do those things contribute to reading development? The last piece of this science of reading puzzle is neuroscience. Neuroscience is the study of the structure and function of the human brain. This is a field that has really exploded over the last couple of decades. And in relation to reading, we understand much more about how the brain works, which areas are activated in skilled and unskilled readers, and how reading instruction can change neural activation patterns and even brain structure. Neuroscience helps us understand what parts of the brain are involved in different reading activities, how the brains of normal readers look different from the brains of struggling readers or students with dyslexia, and how things change as students get the proper intervention. The impact of neuroscience on our reading instruction is a pretty distant connection, but it does help us understand a little bit more about what's going on, and it should contribute to our understanding of why we are doing things in reading. Understanding how students learn, what they need to learn, and what happens when we teach them in different ways is really necessary if we want to give kids the best possible opportunity to become proficient readers. The findings from all of these fields helps us understand what we should be teaching, when we should be teaching it, and how it should be taught.
So, what do you think about this? Before I move on to the can you tell me what you thought out of this movie? Just brainstorm, just anything that you thought you got out of this. Just, you know. Brainstorm. Yes, you talked about that from your mom. Okay, good. I'm not going to ask you to talk about the problem, you know, but absolutely. But what can somebody say what that formula means? Because it's one thing to have it,
just feel like it. So what the formula was talking about is that when you have the two strands, two parts of the linguistic competence, and then you go to that. So what the formula is trying to say is that once you have these two strands together, then you're more likely to develop skill readers. That's pretty much it. You know, skill readers develop from that. But there are some other things in this video that are very critical. So in the past, we've always just focused on one thing, but here it's talking about focusing on several other things. You can remember what it says? What are some of the other areas that we need to consider when we are thinking about reading? Okay, yes, so it talks about linguistics. And I was looking at you because when I came over to you and Alex, you talked about that. You don't know if this one in TESOL, is it going to be that thing? Yeah, so you can see how all of these things work together. You know, because some of the things I'm talking about, probably I've had some of these things in TESOL too. Especially when you think about the fact like aspects of language, where you're thinking about phonetics, you're thinking about morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, and all that. So you're hearing it in Dr. Bush's class, the language development. You're hearing it in TESOL, and you're hearing it here. So it's like where is this thing supposed to be? But you can see how everything is so related and connected. And so it talks about linguistics there, which is where you have your TESOL coming out. Okay, so we have education here, we have the pedagogy, but we also have linguistics, but it also talked about some other fields. Psychology, thank you, it talked about psychology. And psychology again is very important when you come to think about, you know, you're talking about the human mind, you're thinking about psychology. And then you talked about, sorry, saying memory too. Neuroscience? Neuroscience was the other one that you mentioned. And the neuroscience is how is the brain working? How is it understanding everything that is happening? What's going on in our brains? What part of our brains light up? One of the ways that they have understood what's happening in children is by placing some something like a helmet or something on a child. And then they'll monitor, they have things like this groups in the child's inside the helmet. And it will determine what part of the brain of the child is activated anytime something happens. Maybe the mother talks to the child or something like that. If part of the brain is activated, you see that it lights up on the MRI. And so the question is, okay, what's happening here? So you're looking at all these areas of study feeding into education and into what we do. So we shouldn't just be thinking only about education and pedagogy, but we should also be thinking about psychology, we should be thinking about linguistics, we should also be thinking about neuroscience and how all these areas feed into developing field readers. So that's what that is saying there. What else did you notice from the video? Aside from what some of these areas. How about the book? Remember what I said about the book? So here it's talking about, on one side, you have decoding, where you have to do language identification, word identification, you have to be able to understand word identification. You have to also be able to, for the decoding part, and then for the listening comprehension part, you have to be thinking about all the 5 areas. We're thinking about meaning awareness, we're thinking about phonics, we're thinking about vocabulary, we're thinking about comprehension, and all of these things are what fits into reading comprehension. So that is what the video is trying to say. There's so many parts that we cannot just be looking at one. So apparently teachers have only looked at just one part because they come to school as educators, they come to learn how to teach. Reading, and that's always we tend to be focusing on, we're not focusing on all the other. So that is where the science of reading comes in, that we need to be looking at all parts, not just one part. So the second one I wanted to show you the part 2 of this simple view of these things. Much is in the so these are a series of videos. I'm just going to start with the first one and go to the part 2, and then I'll go to part 3. Please take notes as you're listening to this. Okay?
What do we know about the complex process of learning to read? Surprisingly, a lot. Scientific research collected over the past 4 decades reveals what happens in the brain and what must happen in the classroom to enable skillful reading. Most children learn to walk and talk naturally without a lot of support from adults, but reading is different. Reading is not hardwired in the brain, and the neural pathways involved must be developed through successful instructional experiences. Let's look at the reading brain. The parts of the brain that allow us to process sounds and recognize visual images are already in place at birth in the left hemisphere. However, the phonological assembly region is not intact at birth. This is the part of the brain that allows us to connect speech sounds with visual images, such as letters, and enables reading. And it must be built through explicit, systematic phonics instruction and practice with decoding.
What did you get from that movie?
Oh, that's the reading brain work.
Okay, sorry, that's it. What did you get from that movie? For example, yes, that is not hardwired to our brains. Unlike walking, you don't have to help them. In time, they'll get up and teach, and after they finish teaching, they'll get up and they'll help them. Not reading. We've got to help students to map that skill to the brains. It shows us what the actual stuff really works. So let me go and look for the this other videos. Right. So part 2. So we have looked at part 1. So that's part 1. Now I want to go to part 2, and this is the key. And again, please take notes.
When we think about the essential skills children need to build their reading brain, Oppenheimer's model, known as the simple view of reading, is quite helpful. In this model, the critical sub-skills of reading are simplified to their essential categories, decoding and language comprehension, and framed as a multiplication equation, with reading comprehension as the product, or goal, on the right side of the equation. The idea is this: strong reading comprehension results only when both decoding and language comprehension are strong. To illustrate this idea, let's assign values of 0 for weak and 1 for strong. If decoding is weak and assigned a value of 0, and language comprehension is strong, a value of 1. Reading comprehension is weak because 0 multiplied by 1 is 0. Conversely, if language comprehension is weak but decoding is strong, reading comprehension still suffers. 1 times 0 is 0. Only when both domains on the left side of the equation are strong does reading comprehension become a strong 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. This simple view of reading tells us that children need to learn essential skills to decode to get text off the page, while also developing their understanding of the world and of literacy. Although reading is a complex process, this simple view is helpful because all of the essential sub-skills of reading, such as phonological awareness and vocabulary, can be assigned to the decoding and language comprehension domains on the left side of the equation.
Okay. But this is really good. So this is part 2. What did you learn from part 2?
Decoding and language comprehension.
Exactly, yes. So those are the reading and language comprehension. So let's bring it to us. Some of our we have a Chinese very well has really good language comprehension. Everything you say the child understands. But then they don't have the coding skills, and the coding skills has to do with word recognition. The ability to recognize words, ability to say, oh, as soon as they see a certain word, they say that. So we know that that's the ability to be able to say, to see cat, and say, oh, that's cat, that, so for example. So if they don't have that cat, they can say it, but they cannot decode it, then comprehension becomes lacking. They are lacking in that comprehension in really, really measure, which is the goal. And I think if you remember several weeks ago, Claudia was talking about how that reading comprehension is so key, because if you have the ability to speak, but you don't have the ability to see understand what you are reading, then you will not have reading comprehension. On the other side too, if you know how to call out words, you know the phonics, you can bring phonemic awareness, you can put together words, but then you don't understand what is being read, how do you have reading comprehension? There too, you will not have reading comprehension. So these two things are really key. Both decoding and language comprehension are both very, very important in our ability to have reading comprehension. Okay, so this is part 3, and I'm just going to play that again.
Another helpful theoretical model for the reading process is Scarborough's reading rope, which expands upon the simple view of reading. Scarborough's reading rope provides a meaningful visual representation of the process by which decoding, or word recognition, and language comprehension subskills are combined during skillful reading. The decoding subskills are each assigned a strand in the rope. Another helpful theoretical model for the reading process is Scarborough's reading rope, which expands upon the simple view of reading. Scarborough's reading rope provides a meaningful visual representation of the process by which decoding, or word recognition, and language comprehension subskills are combined during skillful reading. The decoding subskills are each assigned a strand in the rope: phonological awareness, decoding and spelling, and sight recognition. Under language comprehension, we need to build these reading subskills, background knowledge, vocabulary knowledge, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. Think of these sub-skills as strands in the reading rope that become stronger and stronger the more tightly the strands are woven together. As the language comprehension sub-skills grow and get stronger, the reader becomes increasingly strategic in their reading. At the same time, as the reader strengthens their decoding sub-skills, they're becoming more automatic in their reading. With increasingly strategic and increasingly automatic reading, skilled reading occurs and the reader can comprehend text. Skilled reading appears to be effortless, but a skilled reader has fortified the sub-skills of the reading rope in order to manage the skills simultaneously and automatically, resulting in reading comprehension.
So, we're going to start with
I'm Angie, and I'm
stop there because I need to try and do in this information. And let me bring it down to very small numbers. That is that you have the coding skills that words, ability to insight recognition, ability for you to be able to decode words or information, be able to recognize words. And then you have all of these other skills that you need. So if both don't work together, it's not. So we have looked at 3 videos. We're going to put you into 3 groups. And you're going to, all your groups are, what I want you to do in your groups is to tell each other what you have learned from this. What did you get from it? You know, like what's some? That's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to do so for people in this line, so we're going to together for you. So Isabel, and Eva and partner and Claudia work together with you, and Olivia, and Gladys and Maria work together, and then Alice and Mandy and Josie, please work together. So what did you get out of these videos? I want you to write 3 sentences that summarize what you think you learned. And I want you to work with each other because that's helping each other. So we know. So I'm going to send the next.
so we know that. Recognition for language to work together. So that there's reading.
I want you to have 3 sentences for each group. About what is what you got.
Oh, I guess that was part of it. Decoding is basically, yeah, word recognition. What else did you guys?
So that's the 1 times, the one, that one? Hmm. There's still 4 pieces? Yeah. Oh, like yeah. Yes. And also. Yeah. Is everything.
I mean, it's not really, but it's fascinating. But I think, but like, stuff I would- yeah, that video. I think so. Probably was. You want? Yeah, okay.
All right, okay. First class? Yes. Yes. First class? Yes. Custody class? Yes. Okay, good. All right, so, let's get started. I'm going to start with your group over here. So I asked each group, this is collaborative learning with the whole group, this is collaborative learning. And this is, learning with the community, but today, what did you come up with in your three sentences for your? Is that the way words are taught as a people? Okay, I think the first video is talking about articulating words, examples. And I did. Okay. The reading of the, Sorry. Exactly, unlike when we get started more. That's the thing. How about your group? What are your three sentences? For example, the thought field, and we don't naturally have that. Awareness vocabulary, identifying reasoning content, the road, time, language, confidence, and ability. Is it human ability? Okay,
For one sentences, we put decoding like a comprehensive, reading comprehensive without one of them, you can't have good reading comprehensions, because that was one of the most particularly.
The second, so the explanation with the strengths are separate, they're weak. And as the children start learning, they start getting strong. So it means each strength represents a different skill and knowledge area. As these strengths are working together, they form a strong growth and extend skill.
The last sentence, that is, having trouble.
Make part. And Jim, do you want to add anything? No? Okay.
Something that I look about where. coding. And, have a positive brain comprehension. So for the review, I saw, this is like when you're striking the comprehension, and then when they strike the word coding, they continue with automatic. Yes, so they are basically combined together during the full reading.
That's the rope, right?
Yeah.
Mm. About the rope in general, how everything all ties up. Yeah. How, like, in that rope, they describe how, like, if you don't have one, you can't have the other, and that's how.
So what we're doing now is collaborative learning. And before we move to phonics, I need us to understand this. I'm going to read through the videos on your content page, V12, and we're going to add a couple of videos. I need you to watch it and you individually, not as a group, individually now, I need you to write just a paragraph. It doesn't have to be a full page, a paragraph about what you understand about it, kinds of reading, and what are the implications for you as a teacher of reading. Because you can get the implications of this. If children cannot have reading comprehension, which is the goal of reading, they cannot have it unless they have to code in for language comprehension. What does that mean for us? So those are the things I want you to write into the one paragraph that you are going to write for me. And you're going to post it. Okay, folder that I'm going to create for you. We need to do that individually. We've done full group, we've done individual, we've done collaborative learning, and now we each need to do this. Because again, it's good to work in groups. It's very powerful in terms of people learning something, but you need to have it for yourself. You need to know that you want to know. But don't forget the other part, which is what is that important? Because you can go into then kinds of reading and going on some don't have to the future teacher, so that's something that you're going to, and I need them to be right next week. I think they have one. Do we have one? Yeah. So please turn in by Tuesday next week. And it should not be more than one paragraph. That's it. Not a long thing, one paragraph. Your understanding of the science of reading. So when we come together next week, I'm going to call on different people to call on the implications, and then we'll move into fun because fun plays into the rest of the. So that's all the three. So I'm going to let us go because we didn't take the full break. So have a great evening. Well, what the things that you have. Thank you for your participation. So,